For more on Pakistan's elections, we are joined now by Michael Kugelman. He's director of the Wilson Center's South Asia Institute. Mr. Kugelman, the Foreign Ministry in Pakistan says that there'll be plenty of observers for these elections, international ones, at least 92 of them, as well as observers from the EU, from foreign embassies as well. So the fairness of tomorrow's elections, that's under scrutiny. There are calls for these elections to be inclusive, for it to be a democratic process, but how likely is that?
Right. Well, I think that the biggest concern is not what happens on election day itself, but what has already happened in the week leading up to the election. There's been a very severe crackdown on one of the biggest and most popular parties in Pakistan, that being the party of Imran Khan. Khan himself, of course, has been in jail since August, and many other leaders of the party are in jail or have been pressured to switch parties. Many of its supporters have been arrested. So many critics, including myself, have said that there's not a level playing field, in the sense that Pakistan's 120 million eligible voters will not have a true choice, and that one of the major political parties has been considerably weakened. And because of court rulings, its candidates must run as independents, not as part of PTI, of the party itself. So that suggests to me that the biggest concerns have already played out. So hopefully there won't be any rigging on election day itself, but the concern is that there already has been some rigging before the election, so to speak.
So the concerns being as they are, Mr. Kugelman, and that lack of a level playing field, as you put it, being so, what are your predictions then for what may happen once those votes are counted? Because analysts are predicting that there won't be a single party to come out with a majority in Parliament. What are your thoughts then on the prospect that Pakistan faces perhaps a hung Parliament here?
Right. I agree that there likely will not be any party that gets an outright majority. And I think what will most likely happen is that there will be efforts to put together a coalition. A party known as PMLN, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, which is a major established party, will benefit from the weakened status of Khan's party, and will likely do quite well in the elections and have and earn the opportunity to put together a coalition, though it will not be easy. And I do think that the next government will be led by a rather weak and fractious coalition, including a number of parties that don't get along. And that suggests that the political instability that we've seen playing out in Pakistan in recent months could continue. And I would also note that if the next coalition is a weak one, that makes it more susceptible to influence and exploitation by Pakistan's powerful military.
Talk to me about that optimism for Nawaz Sharif here, Mr. Kugelman. We know that the military has put its faith behind him for a fourth time. It's also leading many people to believe that the outcome is more or less decided, and that's just because of the power of the military's influence in the country, as it has been for many, many decades. Why is Nawaz Sharif emerging here as a front runner?
Right. And one thing about studying Pakistani politics for so many years that I've learned is one has to be careful with predictions. It is true that Nawaz Sharif is the front runner, but there could be surprises. That said, why is he a front runner? Mainly it's because of his experience. He's been a prime minister 3 times before, so he has a lot of experience managing economic policy. And for the military, its main priority right now is economic stabilization. Pakistan has been going through some of its worst economic stress in many years. And so what the military wants to see is a prime minister that will be ready to come in, roll up their sleeves, and focus on economic recovery. And their view, the military's view, is that Nawaz Sharif is the one that can do that. But the ironic thing here is that when Sharif was in power in the past, and again, he's been prime minister 3 other times, he has sparred with the military. He was overthrown in a coup by Pervez Musharraf a number of years ago, and his last time in power, several years ago, he was essentially pushed out, and his term ended early. So the military favors someone who has not really gotten along well with the military when he's been in power in the past.
Mr. Kugelman, talk to me about the absence from the ballot of PTI's founder, Imran Khan, because that's been a source of a great deal of anger, of frustration among his supporters this time around. it brings to question what's going to happen with PTI once these elections are over as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Right, it's a great question. Khan is not allowed to run in this election because of one of his convictions, and the party revolves around him. There are other leaders, but he is the one that has that incredible capacity to mobilize, and without him doing that, that's weakened the party considerably. A key factor will be turnout. Historically, turnout has been relatively low in Pakistani elections, less than 50%, and particularly from youth. And yet Khan's party has a heavy youth base. So one thing to watch is, will there be significant turnout by young people in this election coming out to vote for independent candidates sponsored by PTI, by Khan's party? If so, that would allow PTI to make a bit of a dent in an election result that otherwise will likely go in a way that does not benefit PTI. But one thing I'll add, that PTI has not been banned. Khan's party has not been banned, suggesting that it still has the ability to stick around and perhaps play a long game and hope that several years down the road, there may be a change in politics. Politics are fickle in Pakistan. There's a history of political figures spending time in jail but making comebacks. There are a lot of second, third, and fourth chances in Pakistani politics. So Khan is not done. Even though he's been sentenced to a total of 24 years in prison, that doesn't mean he's going to serve anywhere close to that. So we'll see. But for this election, I do think that Khan has been relegated not to a non-factor. He's still very influential, but electorally, he's not able to do anything, and that is really going to harm his party's prospects.
Mr. Kugelman, I want to thank you for your thoughts on this. Michael Kugelman there, Director of the Wilson Center's South Asia Institute.